Are we live? Are we live? Tell me where you're checking in from. Are you watching this live? Are you watching this replay? Obviously, if you're not joining me over at the potentialzonegroup.com, get over there and join the rest of the community, and you'll be glad you did, because we got a lot of amazing people over there. And so everybody that's in here on the other platforms, I encourage you, highly encourage you, that if you want to see some of my really powerful exclusive content, then what I would encourage you to do is get over to TikTok, because I'm giving away lots and lots of incredible content over there. And for those of you that follow me, I think you'll agree that that's what's really happening over there. And so this conversation is all about the fastest way to achieve your goals. Okay. Now, everybody talks about, well, not everybody talks about this, but I certainly have talked about this a number of times, and I've heard lots of other motivational speakers talk about this. And when I say motivational speakers with a little tinge of sarcasm in there, is because motivation will only take you so far. And I'm here to give you strategies that will really support you in being able to create what it is that you really want to create. And by the way, if you could share this with as many people as possible, that would be lovely. It would be delightful. I'm also looking for 5,000 likes up there on TikTok. So if you guys would drop some love on there, I'd greatly appreciate it. And so we are talking about goals, and there's a reason why people achieve certain things and they don't achieve other things. And this is what we're going to talk about in this conversation. Because we all, every year, well, not everybody, but most people want to be in a different place than where they're particularly at this time in their life. And this is what I want to have the conversation about, is because, friends, understand, everything I talk about here, I am not talking to you from philosophy. I'm talking to you from well-earned training in my life. And what I mean by that is, every single time we want to grow into something that is a more expanded version of who we are going to have initiations. And the reason the initiation is necessary is so that we get to trust our ability to overcome and become the person that we are, the version of us that is required to create the goal or whatever it is that we want to make happen. Okay. This is what's super, super important for you. Okay. Because what determines, okay, you're going to want to write this one down. You're going to want to write this one down. What determines how fast you accelerate from where you're at to where you want to be is your resistance to it. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Because on the backside of what we resist, usually, now, some of you, I wish I could have a one-on-one conversation with, because then I would demonstrate this to you, right? What we resist because there's usually a wound on the other side of it. Well, let me explain, right? The things that irritate us because there's something inside of us that wants to transcend. Because, see, it's the sign of a mature, educated mind that can entertain a thought and not take it on. Okay, so we have been indoctrinated. We have been indoctrinated to look through the lens of duality. Okay, what does that mean? It means it's the right wing or it's the left wing. It's good or it's bad. You're in or you're out. Okay, that's duality, right? And it's a forced decision. And not understanding that. Now, there's things in my coaching session that I do this with, right? Because I really want to understand what somebody values. And that's why I give them two choices. This is to see everything that comes up so that they're able to, so that I can gather the data to be able to guide them in a way that's supporting to the desired outcome. Now, someone mentioned everything is neutral. Right. Everything is neutral until we have our emotions go sideways because something inside of us got triggered. Right. But that's the opportunity for us to learn how to transcend it. Yes. Ultimately, idealistically, absolutely. Everything is neutral. Right. Nothing has any meaning but what the meaning is that we give it. And that's what's really important for us to understand, that this thing called life is about learning lessons so that we can step into higher versions of who we are, right? And if we're not being challenged, if we're not getting emotional, if we're not having the opportunities, initiations to go through, then we're not stretching ourselves enough. It's just straight up, that's what's really happening, right? And this whole thing called life is a quest of us discovering and learning how to return and embrace who we truly are, okay? And when we understand that this is why we were put here, well, put here or transcended here, or whatever it is for different people out there that's going to have different meanings about that, it's really important for us to understand that there are things along our journey that are going to come into our life that are going to support our higher transformation within ourselves. Okay, so case in point, I'm about to be really, really, really real with you. Okay. So if you would have asked me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if I had dealt with all the wounds that had happened with the way my mother raised me, or what I experienced in being a child of hers, I would have 100% passed a polygraph test, like 100% done it. Why? Because I had done every single thing possible for me to transcend all the programming, all the charge, all the unforgiveness, all the bitterness, all that, right? And see, someone introduced me to this thought about 12, 13 years ago, and that is we're electromagnetic beings, right? Well, what does that mean? It means that our thoughts are the electrical part, our emotions are the magnetic part, so that we will attract situations into our lives to give us the opportunity to transcend it, right? Again, fastest way to accelerate through anything is letting go of the resistance that keeps us to it, right? So I attracted a dark witch into my life, right? Now, before, let's just be real about what happened here, okay? She presented herself that she worked for a very high level publishing company that was responsible for creating a very, very successful book, one of the most successful books in our time, and she was looking to create another one. I did the research. The people this woman had a picture of her and the Dalai Lama, right? Like this is the level that she had been able to mentor other people. But see, there were some things that happened, and I ended up inviting her into my life. And with that, I was able to understand that sometimes things come in the least expecting ways. And while I had her living with me, I experienced a level of narcissism and toxicity that I never in my wildest imagination thought that I would ever be introduced again because of the environment that I was raised in. And this was the biggest lesson where I learned of what it means in true healing happens when I step into my power that the wounds denied me. Okay. And so when we are when we create something that we want to be committed to, now this is where I'm going to give you the secret, right? We don't get what we want. We don't get what we want. Well, actually, we do get what we want, but that's at a subconscious level. We get what we are committed to. And so that's why I said we don't get what we want. Well, we actually do, because see, friends, understand that all of your limiting beliefs that you have serve you in some capacity. Otherwise, you wouldn't have them, right? And so that's why it's important for us to understand that everything we do, every single thing we do serves us in some capacity, right? And our ability to really accelerate to achieve what it is that we want to achieve is learning how to live a life that demands rigorous honesty, right? And so there's lots of people out there that really disconnect themselves from this thing called life, right? And there's lots of reasons. Like I had a good old mentor of mine that says the thing that stops people from growth more than anything else is arrogance, self-righteousness, entitlement, and victimhood, right? And I've had all four of them in various distant seasons of my life. And so it's really important for us to look at, I am still human and I still have things that I get to transcend. And the more real we get about that, the sooner we're going to be able to heal what wants to be healed within us and be able to create what it is that we are truly committed to. Because as soon as we make a decision and we commit to something and we start moving towards it, we're going to recognize everything that we have been committed to that has kept us from making this a reality. Right. And I'm just going to be completely transparent with you. One of the things that have made me become a ferocious learner is because I was overcompensating for a wound that I had as a child. And that wound was I didn't believe that I was intelligent. Why? Because I was told that and convinced that many, many, many times. And this wonderful thing called the public educational system was great in supporting that validation that I had within myself. So what I did is I started reading, I started studying, and I've got thousands of books, read lots and lots and got lots of courses, lots of coaching, lots of things, right? It's not that what I did was bad. It was the motivation behind it that denied me really looking at what the wound really was. Because I could just say all day long, why? Well, of course, everybody wants to be smart, right? And yes, it has served me horrifically. It not horrifically, but terrifically. Like, well, it could be both, right? It has served me very well, and it has served my clients very well because of all the different modalities, maps, stuff like that I'm able to support my clients with. Like there's stuff that I coach that I have yet seen any other coach out there talk about, right? And the reason this is important is because once we understand what is possible, once we understand what is possible, our subconscious mind is going to seek it, right? Because then it knows, it has more clarity on about how it wants to serve us. Okay. So looking at your life, what area of your life is causing you the most resistance, right? And if you don't have an area of your life that's being resistance, I would encourage you that you might want to learn to get a little bit deeper within yourself. Right now, I get it. There's different seasons in our life, and we have where things are much better, but looking at the different domains in your life and going, okay, cool. What area do I want to expand in? Because if we're not expanding, if we're not growing, guess what we're doing? We're dying, right? So looking at what area of my life is asking for me to pay attention to it, right? Because again, the fastest way to achieve the goals that you want to achieve is your ability to be rigorously honest with who you are. And that means, now this is a great question. What keeps us from being honest with who we truly are is because of how we judge what comes up. Right? Like so someone could come up to me and go, Jeff, you have been a self-centered asshole. Yeah, I have, without a doubt. There's been times in my life and seasons in my life where I have showed up that way, and it makes all the sense why somebody in the world would see me that certain way. See, I've embraced that part of me. It doesn't mean that I boast about it. It means that I understand that I have my own humanity and that I'm on my journey and that I'm doing what is in front of me in order for me to transcend, to become a better version of who I am, right? But if you're not okay with your humanity, you are going to want to defend what comes up, right? And so that is what's so important, because what you are defending is a result of how you categorize what anybody ever saying, right? So let's look at, well, we got people saying crazy things on here. I guess we got to end up doing some other things. So really being able to, and I would just ask all of you guys that are commenting these things that have nothing to do with this conversation, of really, what is it that you're really wanting to create, right? And where else is in your life does this show up? Because how you're showing up here is how you show up in other areas of your life. And I would encourage you to really get honest about that, because this is not part of this conversation, right? And really understanding that we are the ones that are creating the life that we experience, right? And how I show up is going to impact other people, and how that, and I can sit there and blame all day long of this doesn't work, or this isn't going to work, or this person treated me this way, or whatever. But when we really start looking at how did I show up? How did I show up? Right? Because how I showed up is going to impact how they receive me, right? And I get this, like I used to be a lot bigger, the weight I am now, a lot more cold, a lot more callous. And then I wondered why nobody wanted to be around me, because I intimidated the heck out of people, right? Because I used to say that I was an iron coated marshmallow, right? Because I didn't want people to hurt me anymore. So I had to get real about what it is that I was creating. And then once I got real about that, then I was able to change a lot of different things in my life, and opportunities started coming at me in all different directions, right? Because looking at what is the results that you want and how are you showing up, is it aligned with what it is that you really want to create, right? How are you showing up in life? Because friends, understand, life is perfectly designed to give you the results that you are getting. Life is perfectly designed to give you the results that you are getting. And so it's up to you to be able to look at, what is it that I want to create? Am I being that person that will create that? Am I operating at that level of vibration? And if I'm not supporting people, and if I'm putting people down or insulting them or whatever, that's going to create what it ends up creating, right? And then at the end of the day, you can look at yourself and say, life isn't fair. Well, okay, cool. How did you create that, right? And that's the same thing like what happened to me when I was 19 years old. See, this is the wonderful thing about how I entered into this thing called adulthood. I almost ended my sister's life. And because of that, this person is saying, I don't want to create anything. Well, really, then why are you saying what you're saying on this call, right? Right? Really understanding, yes, you do want to create things, and it's not in alignment with what we want to create on the show. So you can just go away, okay? Really understanding what it is that that being able to hold space for you long enough for you to step into the greatest version of who you are, right? So when I I didn't kiss mortality's door. I like kicked it down and almost didn't make it through it. And not only for what happened with me, but what happened with my sister. And as a result of that, it made me appreciate life at a whole other value, whole other level, right? And from that moment on, I've been able to, now again, it's not been consistent. Like I've had my seasons of life, right? Like I have been all over the place, and really being able to stand in places that were very, very uncomfortable, right? And really allowed me the opportunity to stand in what it was that I was really committed to, right? And so being able to stand in what you are truly committed to is what's going to allow you to become the person that you need to be. Okay. We've all been sold this bill of goods. You have to have something in order for you to do something, and then you get to be somebody. That is the marketing formula, right? Like that's what I'm going to really, really reveal on this ROI Accelerator Challenge, right? Is understanding, if you don't understand how you're being influenced, then you are going to be easily influenced. And this is what's so important, is because your inner world is what's creating your outer world. And the more discerning you can get about what you allow into your inner world, the more ability you are going to be able to take control of what needs to happen in order for you to become what it is that you want to become. So think about it. Your greatest desire is also your greatest fear. Your greatest desire is also your greatest fear. Why do you have that desire? So that you get to become the person that this desire is calling you forward to be, right? And so that's what's super important for you to understand, is you really being able to take, step in your agency, right? Like your agency is your ability to choose. This has been the greatest thing that we've been given, and it's been the most destructive thing we've been given, because see, we get to choose what it is that we decide and how we interpret every experience that we have, right? And I appreciate what you're saying here on TikTok. That's why I'm talking here. I'm also talking to somebody that's on TikTok. And see, it's looking at what is my intention? What is my intention? And really looking at what things in your life have you created that still are anchored in the past because you haven't made sense and transcended it. What has happened in the past that's still anchored and keeps you holding you back and is asking you to transcend it, right? Because it's the meaning that you have attached to those experiences that is keeping you anchored to it. Right. And that's where, and because of, we have this that we're attached to in the back, when we go to create something else, what the fear is of what we're going to experience in the future is a reflection of what happened in the past. Right. And so that's why it's so important for us to be able to transcend what happened in the past, whether we regret it, whether we're afraid of it, whether there's pain still there, whether there's charge, whatever it is, so that we understand what mastery really is. Mastery is our ability to love into your own pain. Right? Like that's really real mastery really happens is when we have the capacity to be the person for us that we have always needed. Okay. And so it's really, really important to know that there are certain things that have happened in our life that has caused humiliation, that has caused pain, that has caused trauma, right? And these are opportunities for us to allow someone that is empathic, and be very, very careful when I say this, not only to be empathic, but to have somebody that is mature enough to hold space for you so that you can transcend what that trauma has created within you. Okay. Like I remember the very first time, wow, I can't believe this is coming up. This is really, really interesting. So I went through the 12 steps when I started on this journey. I was in my early 20s. And I remember sharing some of the stuff that had happened to me when I was a child, like being molested and all that stuff. And this guy said, why didn't you kick his ass? And I was just like, are you freaking serious? Like I'm 4 or 5 years old, dude. Right. And see, that is somebody that was not mature enough to hold space for something that was a very, very, very sensitive topic. Right. And so now what I have learned is when somebody shares these kind of things is how sacred that space is that somebody allows you into it, right? So let's repeat on why we are here, okay? The fastest way to achieve any goal is for you to look at, actually, what is it that you want to create? What is it that you want to create? What is it that you're committed to creating? Right? And whether you believe that or not, you are always creating. Right? Like I said, our life is perfectly designed to get the results that it's getting. Right? So we have to be able to look at, what is it that I really want to create? What is really standing in the way? And if it's anything outside of you, these are things that are distracting you from really looking at what it is that needs to go on inside of you. Okay. And so that's why I'm asking, what is it that you want to recreate? Getting real honest about that. And I would just recommend, and anybody watching this, I'd encourage you. This is stuff I give my one-on-one clients. 25 things you want, 25 things you want to do, 25 things you want to be. And really focus on that so that you can create enough energy that it ends up captivating you and pulling you towards whatever that means to happen. Then looking at, what is it that comes up as you write these out, right? Because the parts of you that you don't like coming up is the parts of you that wants your attention and wants to be transcended, right? Like looking at yourself, what parts of you do you wish you had that you didn't have? Right? Because what we end up doing is literally becoming the perpetrator of different traumas that we've had in our own life. And it's friends, I could talk about this for days, right? This is what's so important for us to understand, is that we end up treating that part of us like abusing it even more. Like, I don't want that part of us. And that part of us hurts because it got rejected from who we truly are. Right? So that's why it's so important for us to be able to really look at what is standing in the way and what is the anchor that keeps me from accelerating forward. And if anybody's brave enough, I got somebody here on TikTok that is saying some things. And yes, brother, I encourage you to really look at some of the things that have happened to you, right? Because if we don't embrace our pain, we're gonna impact other people with it. And that is exactly what some energies and some vibrations want to have happen. And so it's really important for us to be able to look at, what is it that I'm experiencing? What is it that really hurts inside of me? And be able to make decisions, make choices that allow us to transcend that. Because when we start stepping into the goal and we start creating what it is that we truly desire, all this stuff's going to come up. And so it's being able to be proactive rather than reactive, right? To have proception rather than perception, right? Because it's our future that determines. And somebody just introduced this to me a couple months ago, and it was like, wow, this is interesting, where they're talking about proception. Like, our future is what really draws us forward. But see, it's what we are projecting into our future that impacts that. Right? So the more we can get clear about what it is that we truly want to have, and we're able to hold space for what it is that we truly want to have, then we get to understand what gets to let go. What determines the time of what we want to manifest is a reflection of what we hang on to. What determines the weight, the W-A-I-T, of what it's going to take for us to manifest is the weight, the W-E-I-G-H-T, of what we hang on to. Right? So we can sit here and tread water all day long. If we've got 80 pounds of weight underneath us, we're not going to be able to move it, and thriving could be going right over the top of our heads. If we look down and go, oh, I got weights here, and cut that off, then we're able to pop up into higher levels of vibration. But we've got to learn how to look at the things that we don't want to look at, because it's the things that we don't want to look at that we project on other people and believe that they don't want to look at that aspect of us as either. And friends, like, how many of us have ever said, if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't be in my life, right? But see, that's a reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves. Right? So it's really imperative that you start getting in touch with what it is that you want to create, and understand the things that you want to create in your life is calling you out, so that you get to look at the things that call you forward. Again, environment, I've said this a bunch of times, environment is stronger than willpower. Right? So are you in an environment that is keeping you limited, or are you in an environment that's calling you forward? Right? I could talk about this for days, and I don't want to keep everybody that, because it's important. What is it that you want to create? Make it public, right? Like, comment below, what do you want to create? And be more specific. Well, I just want to create world peace. Okay, how would you know that you've created that? right? And so and the reason why most people struggle with creating goals is because if it doesn't turn out the way that they would hope that it would turn out, that they're going to cause themselves lots of pain by how they communicate to themselves, right? So many people, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And there is no failure, but what happens is that when we get into that state, the failure is how we communicate to ourselves when the results don't turn out the way that they want. But understanding, what if you are in a training process that you need to go through to prepare you for the blessing down the road? What if, right? And so that's why people struggle getting really committed to what they want to create, because they've done it in the past, or they watched somebody do it in the past and they had this horrific humiliation or pain or whatever that is associated with that. And you go, I don't ever want to do that, right? But the reason is because of how they communicate to themselves as a result of the outcome, right? So your mastery is you being the loving, compassionate version of you, giving grace and just going, dude, like, you showed up, you gave it everything you got. What is it that you can adjust? What is it? So I was reading this story on Law of Success, and this is part of, like, go to ROIAcceleratorChallenge.com. If you join the VIP, you're going to get Laws of Success. I teach Laws of Success in there. And I was reviewing some of the material that I put together. Henry Ford only had 9 months, of formal education. And he dealt with illiteracy and ignorance and other mental challenges. And what happened is, when he connected himself with Harry Firestone, I think his name, Firestone, right? They started creating this mastermind alliance. That environment pulled Ford forward, right? And one of the biggest reasons why, one of the biggest catalysts behind creating the U.S. industry, right? The industry, back in the 1900s, right? He overcame insurmountable obstacles, right? 9 months of education, was illiterate, and overcame them by how he showed up and put himself in situations that called the greatness out of him, right? So what is your environment doing for you? Is your environment calling the greatness out of you and calling you forward? Or is it domesticating your dreams, right? Is it domesticating your dreams? Your dreams were given to you for a reason. God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. Okay. So understand that you are being here for a much bigger version of who you are, and you get to be the one that gets to deliver it in the world in a way that nobody else gets to. And I will thank you for that the more you step into that, right? It's not like you're going to or you haven't. This is all the process of you being able to do it. Friends, understand, I didn't start full-time coaching until I was 44 when I started coaching full-time. I've been coaching part-time for a very, very, very long time, right? I had a very successful career in jewelry, right? And I say that because a lot of people out there still have so much, like, I'm one of the more seasoned people on social media, right? Like, I've had lots and lots of experiences. I've had a 7-figure business. I woke up and it was gone, like gone. How do you show up in that situation? It's all of the training that you have done prior to being in that situation. Book I highly recommend everybody read is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Right? He had gone through the concentration camps, but the thing to put into context is that he had written the manuscript that eventually became Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote this manuscript prior to be put in the concentration camps. So he had lots and lots of training. And one of his favorite saying is, you can take away everything from a man except the last of human freedoms, the right to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, the right to choose one's own way, right? And I have another coach that taught me on that, and yeah, there's a whole other story around that too. So what I want to do, and everything I can to support you, my friend, is get over to ROIAcceleratorChallenge.com. This is going to be an epic training. And I'm in the process. I'm going to push it back a little bit. But I'm also looking for some people that I can really work with one-on-one and really support them so that they can understand what I'm doing with the ROI Accelerator Challenge, so that they can inject a massive amount of money into their lives so that they can take their message to the whole other level. If you're not able to financially sustain your message, you're only going to get it out there at a certain level. I'm here about teaching you how to leverage, right? Like, Archimedes said, you give me a fulcrum and a lever big enough, I can move the world. I am all about teaching people how to leverage and collapse time so that they can focus on their genius rather than stressing out about how to make things happen, right? So if that's you, and if you're interested in learning more about that, then type in interested in below, and I can reach out and we can have a 15-minute discovery call, and I'll do what I can to support you in whatever it is that you want to do, right? I'm here to support you. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Thank you all for the likes, and everybody, it is always great to see you, and may you be blessed beyond your wildest imagination. And as always, my friend, live like your life depends on it, because it does. And you deserve to have the best life. Be blessed, my friend. Much love. Take care.